How do I steer this thing? With quite a lot of ships here, not gonna lie. That's quite a lot of ships. This time around, unlike the last time, players didn't have to sign up with their ships, so we will only see what is on these ships once we are in-game. And I'm kind of excited to see what these two formations will be made of. So we have the ANS over here. We have a mech choke plus 4 escorts. I wonder what that will be. 1, 2, 3, 4 different ships here on the right side. No, this time around, no forced mixed forces. This time, it's ANS versus OSP. No mixed fleets this time around. 4K fleets, they flip a coin, and the winning team can decide if they want to play ANS or OSP before each round. So, no mixed fleets this time. We tested it last time, it worked pretty well, but I thought this time around, let's make it the clear way. And change the rule sets up each time. As I said, I still will try to organize one of these each month, or at least get one of these organized each month on the SDL community server on our Discord. But whenever I am around, I will try to organize it myself, and maybe if I'm not around, find someone who helps out getting these out there. And oh, okay, these are quite the fleets. We have a lot of beam destroyers over here for Supreme Overlord, together with just empty recon ships, right? Yeah, those just seem to be empty hulls. Yeah, these are really, really empty hulls. And then we have a battleship with some escort frigates, I guess. Yes, Sarista's FDV. And one empty ship. And this point defense, or is this? I believe this is. Yeah, this is a point defense ship. Or is this maybe? I'm not quite sure what these missiles will be, but I would say it's defense missiles. But on the other side, we have a lot of these small little tugboats here. Okay. That's quite a lot of tugboats with radar. And there's another tugboat that at least has a cannon. A couple of cannon tugboats as well. Yeah, a few, 4 cannon tugboats. And 3 radar tugboats, together with 2 line ships. One-sided line ships, I believe. Both of these. Yes, one-sided cannon line ships. And then down here we have more tugboats with fire controls. And then we have a lot of shuttles. Some with Katyushas and mines. Like, these are highly complex formations. And then some cargo feeders with plasma. And another Katyusha unguided rocket printer here. Shuttle. So this is going to be interesting. Map. Relatively big, but not super large. 5 zones. This massive wall in the middle, really splitting the map into a big side and a smaller side. The big side having 3 zones, the small side having 2 zones, and blocking interaction there quite a bit. And in general, a pretty cool design. I really like the looks of this map. Yukon is a fantastic looking map. Yes. And yeah, it might be offensive S1. That's why I'm also wondering if it's stage 1 offensive missiles. It seems to be the way that this thing maneuvers. They seem to be offensive as ones on this destroyer, and it's quite a lot of them. Like, it's nearly 250 missiles on this destroyer. Whilst yeah, the beam destroyers, if they can get close to any of these line ships, then these line ships obviously will have a rough time as well. And the battleship, let's have a look on the battleship. It's a beamy boy. Beamy boy with a couple of cannons to mess up smaller ships as well. Not the big caliber, only 250mm, but still good enough to mess some of the smaller ships up quite badly as well. As the first shuttle has gotten into range. Fire control still doesn't seem to have it fully on target, and it makes it behind the wall, but it obviously has a bit of an issue here. Let's see if it will drop mines. I don't see any other mines on the battlefield just yet. As yeah, tugboats fly around everywhere. The destroyer still in the south. Control-wise, actually, the ANS currently team here currently in advantage. Blue side capping 3 zones. Well, red team has a bit more points as of now, but yeah, blue team is capturing more. And yeah, the heavy beam setup here with 5 beam destroyers and then the beam battleship this is going to laser things away. That's for sure.
Enemy secured zone Atlas.
As we have up here cargo feeders, the monitors, heavily armored. And if they can fire on a bit longer range with their railguns, they could mess up destroyers quite badly, I would say. And yeah, you really don't want to run into that beam formation here. That's 8 beams potentially coming at you. So you really want to stay away from this. And I would say red really should use the numerical advantage to their advantage to get the W here. As the first of these sprinters without anything inside gets hit. And most likely will be taken out here. For sure it takes heavy damage. Speed will be heavily reduced, as the main engine is down right now. So this thing for sure is down to an absolute crawl. It has normal frontline radar and all of that, but nothing, no offensive and no defensive weapons at all. Only radar systems. That's all these guys come around. If this shuttle over here could get a salvo onto one of the destroyers, that would obviously be quite lovely. But it won't be easy. Meanwhile, though, we have the first gunshots out of this line ship, hitting one of the destroyers, as the destroyers try to hit the ships down below. Missiles coming in here as well, but the point defense on these destroyers pretty good, so no easy get through for those missiles. Those size 2 missiles not getting through. And it seems like the line ship is out of range here once more. Did hit one of the destroyers relatively well, but still the beam is still active and the ship is still pretty functional. Just a couple of point defenses taken out, and yeah, the battle ring taken out. One of the reactors currently deactivated, but with the defender being down and so on, the ship also needs less energy. As we see stage size 1 missiles here, and they seem to be offensive, yeah, but not finding a target as of now. They missed the shuttle. Shuttle, in the meantime, though, hit the destroyer quite hard. Destroyer here, quite heavily hit. So damage-wise, for now, for sure an advantage for the red side, as their ships all still green up here. On the other side, it's not the same thing. And let's move myself down here so that you can see the ships. As yeah, if you look here, this ship is in absolute disarray. Damage repair teams running all around, trying to at least get the most critical systems back online, the drive and the reactor. But more rockets hit this ship, and this might be the end of this hunter. The hunter has become the hunted here. Small rockets hitting pretty hard. So yeah, that DD is an issue. Really nice start here for the red team. Obviously has to be careful. They only have so many rockets and missiles running around on these small ships. So they have to be careful that they actually get hits and don't waste them on insignificant targets, as their long-range firepower is decent, but the beams for sure have the better firepower in a long-drawn gunfight. And ooh, that gunfight is coming now here. Actually, the beam destroyers making it in range of these line ships. These line ships stayed maybe around for a bit too long. Also, not really being able to get any shots off lately. So, yeah, this could be quite problematic here for the team in red. Beam destroyers getting on target of one of the line ships, and that could go down quite quickly here now. If there's many beams going around, S line ship has to run for cover really, really quickly now. As otherwise, it will go down in absolutely no time, especially as the destroyers are still closing in. And yeah, luckily fire control still seems to be a bit off, so the beam of the battleship not on target for too long. The second line ship getting a couple of shots here onto the battleship, won't do a significant amount of damage, as tugboats now under fire as well. Luckily for them, fire control also not right on target on them either, as they maneuver around here with the beam fleet here on hunt mode. And that is a massive, massive issue. The distance closing way too fast for the red team's liking here, as they get guns now, another gun salvo on this battleship. One of the beam turrets already taking a significant amount of damage, but it's not taken out. Up front here, some thrusters getting hit. The bullseye fire control radar still fully active though. That would be a good target, as the first beam actually is starting to run a bit low. Second beam in the bottom of the ship also taking a good amount of damage, as they run into the firepower of both line ships and a lot of tugboats right now. A lot of ships here lighting up this battleship, and the beam destroyers not really up to follow suit. They are a bit slower here seemingly. Only 15 meters per second on these ships, whilst this battleship is rushing ahead with 30 meters per second. And it needs to get some good beams off here to deactivate at least a couple of the opponents. Otherwise, these guns actually might light up this battleship quite nastily, as we also now have the cannons here up north coming in, the mass drivers hitting the battleship as well, and that will be a problem. By the way, the DD, the small missile DD, went down, and yeah, this battleship obviously can take a significant amount of damage, but it's not unstoppable. And the damage here coming in quite nastily, and especially once it loses its beams, it will be in trouble. Beam destroyers finally coming around, finally starting to help out, lighting up these line ships, as the mass driver hits the battleship once more. We have the first reactor going red. We have both beams up top and in the bottom already taken out. Currently repair teams trying to re-establish them, and only the beam in the back still active. So it's really down to the beam destroyers to now deal the damage, but the coordination here may be a bit off. This battleship really maybe getting a bit too far ahead of its comrades, and that might cost the blue team the game here. It currently has the advantage when it comes to capturing points, but it is in a really, really bad situation with its ship right now. The beam destroyers need to get some damage out ASAP, but they are under fire by the tugboats as well. Tugboats fantastically hitting the beam here as well, and these beam destroyers are struggling to get any shots on target, and that is a big, big issue for the blue team here.
The enemy secured zone dagger.
Beams now onto this tugboat, Monitor immediately taken out, but the line ships are the targets that both need to go down. They can maneuver around, they will continue dealing damage. Battleship at least still firing with its 250mm guns, and one of the beams is back online. This is really significant, as now it also is at a range where the beam really starts to kick in. So being able to shoot that beam a bit longer onto one of the line ships is quite significant. As if the beam destroyers can come around, that could be really, really big rockets here flying in, but the point defense is getting rid of it quite nicely. Good fire output there from the flag, destroying all the rockets before they can get on target, but it still doesn't help out with destroying the enemy ships here. The destroyers still not quite up where they need to be, and the tugboats really getting gnarly from all sides with their small little cannons. As Ethan here really in trouble with this line ship, but the battleship is starting to look worse and worse here. Still a lot of green stuff in the center of the ship, but both beam turrets are still in critical condition. I'm not quite sure how many repair teams it still has. 2 restores remaining as of now. So it could still repair a couple of situations. One of the reactors is offline though already. If more of these reactors go critical, that would obviously be a problem. As the beam destroyers now try to get on target onto some of these tugboats. Get one of them here hit pretty hard. And the second line ship now under fire by the beam. That is for sure quite significant. As the first one is trying to get away, heavily damaged. The number of restores here relatively limited by now as well, as it tries to increase distance to this battleship. Battleship now lost more modules, as we see the whiplash drives both go offline as well. So this battleship here currently nearly stranded from its top speed of 31 meters per second. There's not much left, as it is trying to maneuver around here now to at least get its beams on target, and it actually is still capable of doing that, and that is a problem now for the red team. Like, the battleship for sure tanking quite a lot of damage, one of the beams going down again, and it still has one reactor that seemingly gets enough energy to use the weapons, at least for a short while. Yes, the beam destroyers here still trying to help out as well. Some of them get lit up quite badly as well. 2 of them quite heavily hurt. But there's still 3 more that do just fine. As the red team starts to capture some other flags around though. Taking out quite a couple of these unarmored corvettes and unarmed corvettes. Whilst 2 tugboats, 1 tugboat, 1 monitor. So far the only dead ships on the red side. And red is starting to outnumber the opponent even more so now. But this is now a really, really bad time for the red team, for the OSP here, as we see this line ship now eating a lot of beams. Beam destroyers finally getting in line of sight, and the battleship still somehow able to fire. It is really, really in a really, really tough spot, but it still somehow is able to fire for now. Line ship finally able to get its guns back online. If it can't deactivate these turrets completely once more, that would be big. One of them going pretty low, down now. And there's only 1 restore remaining. So only 1 beam able to fire to the front now. Able to retaliate potentially. But this ship for now still going. Still going with half speed. The engines are still online. The drive not so much, but the beam still able to fire. And that is a massive, massive problem. Both line ships just died, and this swings the game around a hell of a lot. As I would say the best hope for the red team right now would actually be focusing on the beam destroyers and then maybe trying to outmaneuver that battleship, as that battleship can't go places anymore. And the only relatively maneuverable damage output on the blue sides are these beam destroyers. And so if you can take out 2 or 3 of them, you could then potentially win a game of hide and seek with capturing the points, but that won't be easy, as a good couple of the tugboats lately have been killed off as well. And it's now 4 to 5 dead ships. And with the 2 line ships now, and obviously 2 of the biggest units here have been killed off for the red team, as this battleship here is trying to stand its ground still. Still 2 beam turrets up and online. The beam destroyers still focused on this line ship. Bit of a waste of energy and time, as red team is about to capture its 4th point, as they still have a good tugboat and sprinter formation down there. Another sprinter made it over here. So blue still will have to get back into the capture point game. With some mines still floating around here as well. Well, let's see if they might become important in the long run. But for now, red is not really in the situation to fight back. Another tugboat here. Misclicked that one. Another tugboat over here. Has to run for dear life. This tugboat here basically completely gone. So yeah, problematic situation when it comes to the fleet firepower for the red side. But capture point wise, they're absolutely in the game right now. 4 points for them. That means every 5 seconds they get 8 points. Enemy team only gets 2 points every 5 seconds. So they will catch up and they will overtake the blue team here quite soon. The mass driver at least still continually hitting this battleship here, continues to cripple it and try to make it less and less maneuverable. A lot of the thrusters by now eliminated here, and it's down to 4 meters per second here at the moment. So this battleship won't go anywhere close to this to any of the capture points anymore, and will be on an absolute crawl. And that means the destroyers will have to do the capturing, and those still could be vulnerable to some flank attacks. But for now, all 5 beam destroyers still online, and that is a problem for the red team. But they are about to capture the last point here, and they are about to get ahead of the blue team completely in points here. Really, really interesting game. Yeah, this is the first explosion over there of one of the sprinters. And the tugboats down here still all in cover. They got hurt by that explosion actually. Quite rough. Yes, a lot of this fleet actually got caught in that explosion. Pretty bad situation here. As these ships, I believe, don't have much offensive weaponry left. They have a couple of missiles still in them. So they still potentially could put out some hurt, as they have a torpedo shaft down below. And that seems to be the winning strategy of the red team now. They have all 5 zones, and that is absolutely massive. Every 5 seconds now they get 10 points. The enemies don't get any points whatsoever. So red team will really race ahead in the capture point game now. And blue team will have to find a way of capturing at least 3 points here without splitting up their forces into a position where they are too vulnerable. And the battleship actually still able to make 40 meters per second. I'm kind of shocked by that, as looking at the engine and the drives, it is in a pretty appalling state. I'm not gonna lie. It's down to no... Yeah, it can't do any... It can't repair anymore. Can't restore any more models, so the 2 beams... all 3 beams back online, but all of them relatively heavily wounded, though there's not that many weapon systems left on the other side that still could hurt it. The last of the monitors has fallen as well, so no more mass driver shots onto the blue team. As we now have more than 100 point advantage for Team Red, and they are taking up quite quickly here now to a victory. And yeah, let's see how this goes. As we see the Sarisa ship moving around over here, actually taking out the mines. Quite important work there. Point defense ship. As if this could capture a point, that would be pretty massive. Over here, the sprinter only having 2 piranhas left. Those most likely won't get through that point defense. If it would still have like 6, 7, 8, if it could get close enough, it potentially could do something. As this ship has no offensive capabilities whatsoever, I believe. No offensive capabilities whatsoever, but it does take out all the mines, and it is now able to get into Charlie. As Boxer is captured by the last remaining sprinter of the blue team. And that is pretty important here at this stage, as red team now is only 300 points away from victory basically, and is closing in there still in pretty high speed. So every bit that blue can do to reduce that tick speed is really, really, really important.
Securing zone dagger.
Okay.
The enemy secured zone boxer.
Meanwhile, over here, the beam destroyer is slowly moving into D point. So nearly back to 2 capture points for Team Blue. And that reduces the tick speed of the red team down to 6 tickets every 5 seconds. But that's still quite important. And if the red team can get in here
Enemy secured zone
and maybe
dagger.
take out the enemy ship in that point, though they only have defensive weaponry here, that would be quite big. But yeah, this tugboat can't do it.
20 minutes remain.
We have another hidden shuttle over here. This one still has 7 rockets left, but against 2 beam destroyers, that is not enough to do the work. But it is waiting for a chance to maybe get back into the D point. And even the 3 flags versus 2 flags scenario for blue team at this stage, with this being this far behind in the tick, would not be enough. So they need a kind of 4 points now. 4 points versus 1, I believe, still would win them the race. But with them falling behind nearly 300 points at this stage, and with that team only about 200 points away from victory, blue team really needs to keep the capture game going. And this shuttle needs to be careful, as we see a lot of missiles coming for this already hurt destroyer, which lost a bit of its point defense systems, but it didn't get hit too hard here. Only 1 hit, I believe, out of these missiles, so this thing still does go pretty decently. Ooh, Piranhas coming up from directly in front though, hitting it pretty badly. And that might be enough now to allow the other rockets. Yeah, it took out a reactor, and that should allow the other rockets and missiles here to do a bit more damage now. The rockets did miss, and the torpedo doesn't get through either. As a lot of missiles are coming in for this ship here now though. And that should be potentially the end of it. It's still going. It is still going towards Alpha, but it doesn't have the power to use its beam here anymore. I believe, at least. And it lost a lot of thrusters in Co as well, so it won't capture Alpha. And that is the important part, as red here is using up its last offensive weaponry to try to capture that point. To try to hold on. Only 150 points now away from victory. And blue team here trying their best, but it seems like the OSP here is going on. That beam DD is not looking good at all, as we have one of the beam destroyers going up for C point, and yet I believe they were too close. They were kept on hold close formation. That's why they were so much slower. Or I'm not sure if blue team actually wanted the battleship to be so far ahead and taking all the fire that hard. It seems like it was a bit of an anti-timing, but I mean, it worked out in the direct battle. They still won with that. So, not 100% certain that is actually the case, as this ship over here finally gets finished off, so it won't capture the A point. And with red team really quickly now still catching up to the 900 points, this is a big, big problem for the enemy team. Maybe a bit too many missiles now used up here though. And wasted, as number of missiles here is starting to really run low for the red team's units here. Blue bot really wasting a lot of ammunition there. And Fan not having any offensive capabilities left whatsoever. But we are over the 900 point mark. And red team is still for now getting 6 points per minute. It's nearly 400 points ahead at this stage. And that 300 points ahead at this stage. And that is a really, really big struggle for blue team to catch up to. And red team only needs to hold on to 1 point here for now. And I believe at this point it would be close enough to win it with that. Especially as it will still get a couple of 4-point ticks here. With blue team slowly catching up, but the 1000 point setting coming closer and closer. Beam Destroyer actually aiming onto the shuttle real hard. So the shuttle will struggle to get through here. If it can hit the beam, that would be massive. But the point defense too good to get hit here. And that is a big, big issue for the shuttle. Shuttle desperately tries to get away. Is flying with absolute top speed. Is obviously in flank mode. As it is driving here with nearly 50 meters per second. Trying to get close. Trying to overwhelm the enemy. As blue team is actually capturing a 4th flag here. And red team is only 50 points away now. Or slightly more than 50 points. At the moment where C point will be captured, it most likely will be around 50 points. Maybe 46 points. And that is going to be a big, big issue for blue still. But they now tick a lot faster. So 24 ticks of 1 point it would be for the red team to get back into this. And if they can capture any other point, it obviously would be massive. But a beam destroyer is still around here. We have 1 ship coming up, but it doesn't have offensive weaponry. Oh, we have this destroyer on E point. Getting messed up a bit more though. And it might even go down here. No, not quite. Those shots of these Piranha rockets, if these 2 rockets would have hit, that could have been the end of this beam destroyer. Which doesn't have a beam anymore, so it doesn't have any offensive weaponry. There's only flak rounds left in this one though. Same thing over here. Amount of weaponry here really, really limited, but it still is enough to capture the E point with 2 versus 1 ship. And that should be it for the red team. If they capture E point, it should be enough to win them the game. As they are now only 34 points away from victory. And they still hold the A point. Though there are ships on the way to there. Beam Destroyer really closing in on that. 27 meters per second. Desperately trying to get in there. The shuttle here running around this Beam Destroyer. Desperately trying to not get hit. As the E point is about to be captured and it's only 28 points now. Blue obviously has caught up a good bit by now. But it's still 250 points away from victory, and it would need to stop red completely dead in its tracks. But with now 2 points captured and 4 points every 5 seconds going on to red side's account, it seems like the red team here really got this by perfect zone capture play. They didn't win the direct fight, but they will win the capture point race. In the end, Beam Destroyer here in a bit of a trouble, still able to win with the point defenses, but only only so few points, only 10 points now. That is 3 ticks for red team, and blue team can't capture this fast enough. So GGVP, blue team here with a really strong aggressive push, but red team in the end keeping the ships alive for long enough staying annoying enough, taking out a couple of really important ships at the right time, and getting the W here. And this is really OSP versus ANS in a nutshell here, I would say. Really, really well played by the red team. Getting the W here in game number 1. Really well played. Playing the objective fantastically. And let's have a look on what the ships did. Yeah, 12,000 damage received, 22,000 damage dealt. That battleship obviously did a lot of work. The beam destroyers here, some of them also doing a fantastic job. 17,000 damage here, 6,000 damage here. Another 4,000 damage, another 2,700 damage. But on the other side, damage, I believe, is a bit more split up. Yeah, the 2 line ships did a decent job, but they couldn't hold it out for long enough. And the shuttles also did a decent job. Actually, one of the mass driver ships here, the monitor's pretty good as well, but a couple of these stuck boats with the missiles stopping the destroyers was a really good job. So well played, and that means the Oscarbot will win this first match here. And gonna see what the matchups will be